Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Julia Jardine and I'm part of the A Rocha team here in Melbourne. As part of Activate 2020, I'm holding a series of conversations with people, exploring various aspects of creation, care and mission as we serve to partner with Jesus in his work and also to live in his name. And today I'm joined by Catherine Shields. Catherine works at Interserve as a creation care advocate and a youth worker. She's also a marine biologist, so I'm keen to explore with Catherine how her love for nature, her love for God and her love for people have all come together in creation care mission. But before we delve into that, Catherine, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your role at Interserve and where your love and passion for creation and nature came from?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Julia. And thanks, Activate, for having me. It's really great to be able to sort of join you this year. I've come along many years in the past, and so it's great that we could jump online and still have something of Activate for 2020. So I work at Interserve Australia, which is an organisation that sends and supports people to serve cross-culturally, particularly in the Middle East and Asia. And my role there is as a creation care advocate. So basically that means that I want to inspire and encourage people who have an interest or a concern or a skill set in the environment, so maybe environmental science or operating a business and wanting to think about how that looks to do that sustainably. All those sorts of things to encourage and inspire them to consider how they might do what they do here in Australia in the Middle East or somewhere in Asia. And in terms of where my interest in creation care began, so I've always loved the natural world. For as long as I can remember, when I was growing up, I loved dolphins and whales, and all I ever wanted was to get a pet dog. And I had family who lived down near the beach, and so we'd spend lots of time visiting them. And I also grew up doing Scouts, and Scouts care for the environment is one of the sort of taglines of being in Scouts. So I spent lots of time camping and outdoors, and loved bike riding and all those sorts of things. And then when I became a Christian, I started asking the question of how did those things go together. So I think creation care has been a really exciting journey for me in wrestling with these questions about how does my interest and care for the natural world and enjoying spending time with that, how does that fit with my faith? And then how does that fit with God's mission and what mission, particularly cross-cultural mission, looks like?
And I know you're a marine biologist, so what you did at university. And so how does your scientific approach, how has that helped you grow your picture of God and of his purposes for the world?
Yeah, sure. So I have a degree in marine conservation and resource sustainability, and also in fisheries management. And so I studied down in Tasmania, which was a lot of fun. And I think there were lots of times where I would be in a lecture or reading an article, working on an assignment, and I'd just be blown away by what it showed me about God, about his creativity, about his generosity, about the fact that he values beautiful things, also that he values really ugly things. It's amazing what some deep sea creatures look like, and God made them. He's very creative, and I like to think he also has a sense of humour. So I think, in studying science, God revealed a lot of himself to me through what he has made, and he still reveals a lot of himself to me through what he has made. I feel like the times that I'm most connected to God are when I'm outside in the natural world, either going for a walk or camping or down at the beach, anything like that. And I think some of the most profound things that God has taught me have been from spending time in nature. And when you think about the sort of ways that Jesus taught, he always used examples of farmers or birds or seasons, all those sorts of things to teach people about God and what the kingdom of heaven is like. And similarly in Job, God answers all of the questions and everything that Job throws at him. God points him to creation as his response. He sort of seems like he's not answering Job's question, but he is. He's reorienting Job's perspective, and he says, can you hold the stars in your hand, and do you know when the foundations of the earth were laid? And in that, he's showing Job that he's a God of wisdom, not just a God of justice. Job sort of thought that he had God figured out, that God works like this, 1 + 1 = 2. And God says, no, the world I've created and the way I work is so much more complicated and bigger than that. And I just love that God can point to what he's made and what he's created to show us more of who he is. And so for me, spending time doing scientific work, that just shows me more of who God is, that he's a God that I can know and a God that I can not understand, but learn more about and grow in my understanding of who he is.
And so the question from the other way around, how would you say your faith impacts the way you approach science and approach environmental management?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it took me a while to think about that. And I guess one of them is that I care because God cares. All of us need to have a motivation for what we do, something that drives us and gives us energy to keep going. You'll have that for your job, or if you're homeschooling your kids at the moment, there must be something that motivates you. And so for me, there's no way that I could care about the natural world and the environment as much as I do if I didn't allow that to be driven by the fact that God cares and God loves this world that he's made. I think the other thing is that I have someone I can pour out my frustrations and my disappointments to in regards to the environment. So when I hear about something going on, environmental degradation and unsustainable fisheries, those sorts of issues, I have someone I can take that to, and someone I know who cares. And there's a lot of research that's been done more recently about scientists, but the broader community as well, and their experience of grief and anxiety that's associated with environmental damage. So seeing, agricultural land that was once productive, or more recently for us, the fires. And that evokes grief and pain in people. And there's a lot of acknowledgement in the scientific community that they don't know what to do with that. Whereas as a Christian, we have this wonderful history of bringing that to God and crying out to God and asking him for justice and for comfort. So I think that's a really big thing. The final thing I'd say about it is that environmental problems are a spiritual issue. And I think, we have a unique voice we can speak into that space as Christians. It's not just about good science and good policy and good research. It's also about people's hearts needing to change and people's thinking needing to be transformed. And so our environmental issues aren't just environmental issues, they're spiritual issues. They're issues of greed and apathy and selfishness. And we've just seen that with, the sorts of things that we've had to manage in our response to the coronavirus. People stockpiling toilet paper. We've had to put all of these measures in place to stop that happening. Similarly, with the environment, these issues aren't just a matter of having good policy in place, but it's a matter of people being transformed.
Yeah. It sounds from what you've been saying that you have a perfect job, in that your love for the natural world, your love for God, your love for people all come together in Creation Care Mission. And what you've been saying, there's definitely a place for scientists and environmental managers in Creation Care Mission. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yes. I love what I get to do for work. It's so wonderful to see how God's brought these different interests and skills and passions together. And it's been really wonderful being part of the InterServe community, because it's helped me understand more what a holistic approach looks like and what it means for God to use all of how he's created me to serve him and to serve others. And so, yeah, definitely we do have opportunities for people to serve overseas. I guess the easiest way to think about it is whatever it is that you do here in Australia, what would it look like for you to do that in Central Asia? What would it look like to do that in the Middle East? So if you're a beekeeper, could you be a beekeeper in Southeast Asia? If you're a water sanitation specialist, could you do that in the Middle East? That's the sort of questions I encourage people to bring to God and ask him and reflect on. And even if you're not one of those things, as I mentioned before, if you're someone who, I was talking with someone just recently who runs a coffee business, and they grow the coffee beans in a sustainable way. So it may be that you want to think about environmental issues in the way that you're operating a business. Any of those are wonderful opportunities to serve in Creation Care Mission.
And how can people follow up these opportunities with you or have a conversation about the opportunities?
Yeah, so you can contact me on catherine@interserve.org.au. I'm based in Victoria, which at the moment isn't really an issue because we have to talk online anyway or over the phone. But we do have people all around Australia, and so they would love to connect with you, and they can do that virtually at the moment and in person when we're allowed to do that again. I'd also encourage you to jump on our website, interserve.org.au, and there's a section on there called Kingdom Gardeners, and we've got a whole bunch of information on there, such as the opportunities that people have to serve overseas with us, but also some articles and reflections and resources to keep exploring what creation care and mission, how faith, the environment and mission all come together.
Well, Catherine, thank you for sharing with us. Your enthusiasm is infectious and it's always great to catch up. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Julia.